Plays here, bringing you another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel video. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing a deck profile for the newly buffed Orcust strategy. So I'm really excited to finally be able to bring this deck to the channel, as it is one of my favorite decks, honestly, in Yu-Gi-Oh! I think the cards are really, really cool, and I'm glad we finally have another buff to them. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to go and swap over here to the OCG because it's closer to Master Duel. We have Galatea 2. And we also have 2 Harpors in Master Duel, which is, not what is indicated on the screen, but we do have 2 Harpors in Master Duel, and we have 2 Galateas, which is really, really nice. As always, I apologize for this being on Dueling Book. My PC is still broken. I don't have a PC, so I'm going to be doing these recordings on DB for however long it takes to get a new PC, so sorry about that. But, yep, here we are nonetheless. I also apologize for my voice. I've been sick the past week. Due to probably the cold weather and stuff like that. So sorry if I sound a little off, but I knew I just needed to go ahead and get a video out to you guys, and hope it doesn't sound too bad. But anyways, without further ado, let's jump right on into the deck profile. This is going to be a Danger Orcust strategy, because I think that the Danger package offers a lot of extension and versatility for the package that you're not really going to find in some of the other variants. So I'm a huge fan of this version, and it's going to be 3 Nessie, 2 Jackalopes, and 1 Tsuchinoko. You could play other options like more Tsuchinokos, Bigfoot, Mothman, so on and so forth, but I really like the 6 Dangers and having the 3 Nessies, 2 Jacks, and 1 Tsuchinoko. In Master Duel, these are limited a little bit differently. Let me go ahead and pull this up. This is just a sample Orcust deck list. Jacks at 2, so you can't play 3 Jacks, but I just want to go and put that out there. And then for the sort of starter / hybrid between the 2 engines, we have the Armageddon Knight and the 3 Dark Greffers. The reason I say the kind of hybrid between the 2 engines is because the Dark Greffer discarding dangers is very powerful, so it's very good. And they also count as starters, because if you open these, you're pretty much going to go full combo, which is really nice. So the 1 Armageddon Knight and the 3 Greffers, and of course the 1 Reinforcements of the Army to search them out. The 1 Foolish Burial, this pretty much acts as a starter, but you're going to need more than just a Foolish to fully go combo, but it's still very good. The 1 Gearsu, obviously, sadly this is at 1. If this was at 3, this deck would be a lot better, but you only have the 1, sadly. 1 Brass Bombard. I'm not a huge fan of this. I've been thinking about cutting this, but it is good to have the other name, and its effect does come up sometimes when you don't have access to discard outlets and you need to just get the Nightmare out of your hand or something like that. It's also pretty good for if you draw multiple Harpors or something. There's just weird situations where you just need to summon something out of your hand that this can come up. So as of now, we're playing 1, but this could change in the future. 2 Simple Skeleton. I think this is probably the correct number. It's not bad to draw. It's obviously really good dump to the graveyard. So, yep. 2 Harpors because it's at 2. 1 Nightmare. I've also considered playing 2 of this, but kind of settled on 1. There's really not room to add more unless I wanted to cut the brass. But I think the 1-in-1 ratio has been performing quite well. 1 World Wand, obviously this is engine requirement. The 1 Babel, the 1 Crescendo, pretty standard. Then I am playing a Phantom Knights package as well. I think this just makes your inboard just significantly better. It makes it so it allows you to end on 3 free disruptions basically, that don't require you to open anything specific. So I really like this. I like it more than the Striker package in the deck currently, but there are applications for the Striker stuff if you choose to play it. But personally, I just like the Phantom Knight stuff. So we're playing the 1 Cloak, the 1 Boots, the 2 Fog Blades, and the 1 Shade. And then for the non-engine stuff, we are playing 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossoms, 2 Nibs, 2 Veilers because Imperm conflicts with the Shade, and then 2 Call by the Grave and 1 Cross a Designator. But you can swap these hand traps in staples for pretty much anything you want. But I think these are best across the board right now. Moving on to the extra deck, we're playing 1 Time 3 Redoer. You could pretty much play any level rank 4 in the slot, but I think Redoer is really good because it's going to always come out with a trap under it, with being the Shade if you do make it. So it's instantly going to have that effect, that Phoenix Wing Wind Blast like effect to place a card your opponent controls on the top of their deck. So it's really strong. It also kind of has some self-protection, being able to banish itself, and it's overall just a really great option. It's also a dark, which is important, right? Then we're playing 2 dings. You could probably get by with 1, but I do like the second just for grind games. But yeah, this card doesn't really need too much explaining. This card's absolutely insane. 2 Galateas because she's finally free. She's finally at 2. I wish we could play 3, honestly, but 2 is all we need. And I'm so psyched this is back 2. It's really nice to see. Then the 1 long Girsu. You don't need to play this necessarily, but it is good for grind games in very specific situations, so highly recommend it. The 1 Link Kribo. I was actually considering playing Almirage. Because sometimes you just like normal summon, you'll have like one of the fan night cards, you just like won't really have any other plays, and you'll just want to like normal summon that and link off into Almirage, but that's so rare that actually comes up. But I'm playing the Link Kribo just for the, I'm just going to go ahead and add this in here as a potential option. But, the Link Kribo is obviously here just for the Girsu when it summons out a token. You can link off into this. Because this takes effects monsters, so you can't use the token. So you just need to link it off into the Link Kribo and then link off into your Galatea and you're good to go. 1 dark. You could play more than this, but I think 1 is probably just enough. This card's insane. 1 IP. If you can make this a part of your end board, it's always good to do so. But, this is just a fantastic card overall. Usually you're going to be choosing whether going for IP or the Time Thief. 9 times out of 10, I will personally choose the IP, but there are certain times when Redo is just insane. 1 Barricade Borg Blocker. This is really good in those situations where you just have a lot of cards in your hand that you need to discard. It's a dark for 1, that helps, and it's just a good discard outlet. It's just a turn 1 discard outlet, whereas the Nightmares are more turn 2 discard outlets. So that's why we're playing the 1 Phoenix. It's also not a dark, which is the benefit of having a Barricade Board Blocker, where the Nightmares are really only discards when your opponent has cards. But anyways, we are playing the 1 Phoenix. This does come up sometimes going second. The 1 Unicorn, obviously you can make this off the IP. It's fantastic. The 1 Rusty, just for engine requirements, just to get your Phantom Knight engine rolling. 1 Avermax, this is your other target for IP. This is normally what you're going to be going for on your opponent's turn, if you can, because your best inboard is going to be Rusty up in the extra monster zone, Galatea in IP, with a few Fogblade set, and the ability to summon Ding back from the graveyard. So you're going to link off with the Galatea and the IP into an Avermax, and then you're going to just have an Avermax, which can't be destroyed by card effects because it's due to the IP, can't be targeted by its own effect, basically has to be attacked by your opponent's monsters, and can almost not get beat over by anything in the game. So it's kind of insane. There are a lot of outs in the current metagame to this, but despite that, it's still a great option. It can almost single-handedly just win you matches, win you games. Obviously, in the Despia matchup, you might be going for something else, but it's still fantastic. It's still a fantastic option all around. And then finally, 1 access code just for those OTK plays going second. I'm going to jump over here. I'm not going to be doing just pure combo videos, just pure combo guides, because the deck doesn't really work like that. The deck usually does very similar things, gets to that point in very different ways. So I'm just going to do some test hands, honestly. This is not a good hand. Wow. Okay. But that's okay. We'll make it work. We're just going to see what we can do with it. So this is not a great hand. What I would do is I would just start off with the Greffer, and I would declare Greffer. I would dump the cloak, and I would go dump. Here in this situation, you can either dump the Harpour or the Nightmare. I'm going to dump the Nightmare just to get that part of the engine rolling. You want to get these cards into rotation, for one, because it thins the deck out. It also fills up your banish pile and your graveyard with Orcust stuff, so that's what I would personally do. Then we're going to declare. We're going to banish this, and we're going to, of course, target the Dark Greffer. Just going to put a little counter on him to indicate that. And we're going to send from our deck to the graveyard the Harpour. All right. And then we are going to declare the Harpour's effect. Banish him. To go summon out a Girsu from our deck. So when you're in the unfortunate position, so by the way, we are going to be declaring this obviously because when it's normal or special summon, you can send. So when you're in the unfortunate situation where you're not able to dump two things, so like what I mean by that is like, it's good to open an Orcust plus a Grepher because then you can get multiple Orcust effects in the graveyard. So like ideally you'd be able to Nightmare, dump the, well, like either Nightmare, dump the Simple Skeleton, or Harpoor some of the Simple Skeleton, but also be able to get to, you know, your Yugioh on the board to send something else, right? To send the opposite from the deck to the graveyard. I hope that makes sense. But in this situation, we didn't open any other engine, any other Orcust stuff. So we're not going to be able to get either the World Wand or the Simple Skeleton into rotation. And when I have to choose between the two, personally, I choose to get the Symbol to the graveyard because this is going to allow you to play in your opponent's turn better. And I think it's just overall just kind of what is more optimal to do. So we're going to link off here into the Galatea. Now you can go ahead and Galatea effect if you want, but you don't need to. We'll be using Galatea later on in the turn as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set the Shade Brigandine here, and I'm going to activate it to summon this out. It's kind of unfortunate we have to do this like this, but we also didn't have any extenders. Our hand had a lot of starters. Our hand had multiple starters, and then a searchable extender, which is kind of unfortunate. But you don't want to draw this because it's searchable, but it is what it is. Here you can go ahead and activate. You can go ahead and banish that to go search out your boots. It really doesn't matter when you do this. I'm gonna go. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to set that. I'm gonna flip it, and you know, I really should have put this in a different monster zone. We're gonna put this all the way over here. So sorry about that. I'm kind of cheating here, but we're also gonna go ahead and summon out the boots because we control the shade. And what you want to do here is, of course, just link off these two into the Rusty. I'm gonna keep the shade on board for now. Just because it's a level 4, and it's, just because it's a level 4, I'm gonna hold on to because I don't exactly know what my inboard is gonna look like. But sadly, we cannot use Rusty's effects because we've already, of course, sent all of our Phantom Knight engine to the graveyard. But you still want to go into it because it's going to allow you to play on your opponent's turn by summoning back out the Ding to a zone this card points to, and then of course Rusty's effect is if a Dark Exceed monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, you can pop a card. So fantastic. We're then going to use the Skeleton effect, banish itself, to summon out the Galatea back onto the field. And we are going to link up into the Gear Suit. So here, what's going to happen is when Ding is summoned, I'm trying to think if this is actually correct. Hold on, let me, I'm going to take back too many plays here, but let me think this is correct, because one way we could go about this, which is what I was originally thinking, was you summon out Ding effect, attach the Simple Skeleton back to it as a material. Then of course you still have your Horror and your Nightmare banished. That's okay. And then you can link off with the Shade. Then you can link the Shade off into a Link Karibo, and then, well, that makes me think that I probably did it wrong by going into Rusty this way, but that's neither here nor there. You just use a little bit more resources that way, based on my misplay, if we're going to go this line. But then you can link the Galatea, or the Ding and the Shade, or the Link Karibo in that case, off into another Galatea to get the Ding in the graveyard, which we do want to do. But I'm just trying to think if it is correct to do it like this, and I think it is, because I don't think we really have another line to go for. So the other line would be to go ahead and link up into a Ding here. No, not link up into a Ding here. Link up into a Link Karibo, then go into a Galatea. That wouldn't make any sense. Something else we could do, we could go ahead and Galatea's effect to shuffle the Horror or the Nightmare back into the deck to set the Babel from our deck. We're going to do that anyways. So we're going to go like this. I think this is probably the proper line. Then we're going to declare this, and we're going to basically equip this is an Exceed material to the Ding, and then we're going to, oh, sorry about that. Literally just I'm getting way too far ahead of myself. Summon out the Link Karibo, and then link off the Ding and the Link Karibo into another Galatea. And the reason you want to cycle it like this is just because it's going to put the Ding in the graveyard for you. So you can summon it back out with the Simple Skeleton, and then get its effect to send when it's summoned, and Rusty's effect to send when it's summoned. So when something is summoned to its zone of points too, of course. We're then going to banish the boots to go ahead and search out our Fogblade. And we can go ahead and declare. You can really shuffle back whatever you want. In this situation, since we only play the one Nightmare, we really don't have anything in the graveyard. I'm going to shuffle back the Nightmare. Since we only have one Nightmare in deck, and we have another Harpor, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle that back. And then we're going to go ahead and set the Babel. Again, sorry for my voice, guys. You're going to set this from your deck, not add it to your hand. Then you activate it. But again, sorry for my voice. I know it sounds terrible, but so yeah. Then we're just going to end with a Fogblade. So basically, what we're ending with here, it's one monster effect negation, one pop from Rusty, and one non-targeting, non-destructive send from Dingirsu, or board protection from Dingirsu if you decide to equip the Harpor, which is totally an option that you can do. And we also have the Galatea effect where you can shuffle the Harpor back or the Symbol Skeleton when we inevitably banish it to summon back out the Ding to set a crescendo from our deck for, the follow-up turn. Won't be able to activate its effect that turn, but we'll be able to do it in the future. So that's very nice. But anyways, we also have the Maxi, of course, but that's not guaranteed. So I'm going to go and reset the deck here, and we're going to do one more. Hopefully I can get that Avermax line. Oh gosh, this is terrible. Well, so this is a terrible hand. I'm not going to play this one through just because it's kind of a brick. It's not a brick. You can definitely play this. You know what? Screw it. Well, it's going to end on very similar stuff to the last one. Just going to put that out there. So I'm not going to play it out just because it's going to end on basically the same end board as last time. Literally, it's going to end on the same board as last time, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so I'm not going to do that. It's also kind of bricky. It's not the best hand. Okay, this is wonderful. This is much better. Okay. So what I personally would do, because I don't want to get uber punished by a Veiler, I'm going to special summon this guy out by dumping the World Wand here, and then I'm going to declare by dumping the Harpor. Obviously if they Veiler it, right? But not much you can do about that. So I'm going to dump the Harpor, and then I'm also going to dump the Nightmare to the graveyard. So we're rolling here. So I'm going to go ahead and declare, and we're going to banish the Harpor, and that's going to allow us to summon out the Girsu. Then Girsu's effect. Veiler also doesn't stop this. For anyone who I know I didn't really finish that thought earlier, but Veiler does not stop this. You have plenty of gas with this hand to beat a Veiler. So we're going to use Girsu to dump the Symbol Skeleton just because we need to get it in the graveyard. And we can also Nightmare to dump the brass, I'm sorry. I always mispronounce that. We can dump the brass, but that's not super important to do right now. We're going to link those two off into the Galatea, as always. And then we're going to, I'm just going to go in World Wand here. We'll banish the World Wand to summon out the Harpor. Remember, guys, we have not normal summoned. That's important to note. We have not normal summoned here. So we're going to link off these two into a Rusty Bardiche. And sadly, we're not going to be able to use Rusty's effect because we drew the cloak. So we don't want to dump the boots to the graveyard. We want to search that out with the cloak here in a little bit. So that's totally okay. But we're going to banish the Symbol Skeleton to summon out the Galatea. And in this situation, we can normal summon out the cloak. You can actually activate this. So you can declare it, target this. Turn it to defense position. And for those of you who don't know what it does, basically, and if you do that, monster gains 800 attack and defense until the end of your opponent's turn. So it's a nice little attack buff for the Rusty. Not super important, but you might as well do it, right? Then we can link these two off. Sorry, we don't want to link those two off. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. Going to go ahead and link on up, exceed on up into the Ding. And we'll link those two off. Once again, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just trying to play. I'm playing too fast. When this is summoned, it is going to declare to equip. To not equip, but to attach as an exceed material under the ding, and then we are going to link off these two. Guys, I'm really sorry about that. I don't mean to be all over the place. We're going to go into the Galatea here. And of course, as you know, that's going to establish the summon back out with the symbol skeleton. So it's very, very nice. We can, how would it, actually, I think this is going to be, how should I do this? I think I might have done this wrong. Yeah, I think I might have done this wrong. I think I could have done this in a different way to get more out of this. I hope not. I hope I didn't mess it up too bad. But what I'm thinking now is I could have gone ahead and rustied to send the boots to set the fog blade. And then we could have used Cloak's effect to banish itself to search out the shade, but that doesn't really do anything. That puts the same amount of bodies on board. Anyways, well, regardless of that, we're going to banish this. Yeah, that's actually definitely not right. We're going to go, well, yeah, that's definitely not correct because we don't. I messed this up. I must have really messed this up because I could have done that. I think I could have ended with more. But yeah, I don't know. Here in this situation, we're going to declare the rusty. Go ahead and send the boots. I might not have had more, and I'm just overthinking it, but I feel like I could have done more. And the reason I was able to add this, by the way, off of Cloak, if you don't know, this can add the Phantom Knights card. It doesn't have to just be a monster. And this is the Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine, when this is just Phantom Knights of Fogblade, which is why you can't search that out. You can search out the shade. So yeah, I definitely think I messed this up. I feel like there had to have been a way for me to get more bodies on the board to be able to go into an IP. Sorry, I didn't mean to add that again. Obviously, we're going to set that from the deck, then activate it. This is, of course, set. And this, of course, so this is going to be the exact same inboard as before. Except now we can banish that. To basically set this. So, this is basically going to be the same inboard as before, but I feel like I could have done something else. I feel like there's got to be a way where I could have established more bodies on the field. But, you know, anyways, not worth dwelling on it. I'll go ahead and reset the deck here, and we'll do one more. Hopefully I can actually get the lines correct and end on a nice Avermax board for you guys. So, this is actually really tough. Part of me feels like you should probably set the called by and then play, but another part of me is like I should probably risk it in case they do have like a maxi or something like that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to declare this, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if we roll a 6, I'll just re-roll. So 2. Okay, so it's going to be Nessie. We're going to drop the Nessie. Then obviously this effect is going to activate. And what happens if the card was not Danger Nessie, you special summon it. But if it was Danger Nessie, you just add a Danger from your deck to your hand. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a Jack from our deck to our hand. And the first part of Nessie's effect is not once per turn. The second part is. So I'm going to go ahead and go for Nessie again. Declare this, and we're going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was a 6. Okay, so I'm just going to roll one more time. Sorry, I don't mean to make this longer than it needs to be. But that was 3. Okay, so we're going to dump the Jack. And that means we're going to summon out Nessie. And, obviously this is going to declare. And this is going to declare. So if this card is discarded, you can special summon 1 danger monster from your deck. So we're going to bring out the Snake. And we'll draw a card. It's your Nip. Okay, very nice. How do we want to do this? This is actually kind of tough. This is not going to put us in a great position to end on a lot. Yeah, this is actually pretty bad. So we're probably forced to just go for this line into a blocker, which it's good. It's why it's good to play this, right? So you're going to declare this, and you're just going to send this to the graveyard. You just discard it. Then basically during the end phase, you can add one continuous or field spell from your graveyard to your hand, if you need to. And then we're going to declare the Nightmare, banish it to target this, of course. And as always, we were going to send the Harporer. Then Harporer's effect is going to trigger, and that's going to allow us to summon out the Yugioh from our deck. And we can declare the Yugioh. And personally, when I don't have access, like I said before, when I don't have access to multiple lines of like ways of getting stuff, Orcust cards into the graveyard, I like to just establish that symbol skeleton because it guarantees you some form of follow-up and disruption, as opposed to the World Wand, which is just pure extension, which is still very, very great, right? Because the World Wand would give us a lot of versatility with our different lines we could take, but the symbol skeleton is going to give us that guaranteed, kind of line of play. So I'm going to go ahead and link these two off here into a Galatea. I think this is probably what we should be doing here. You could technically you could go for a Rusty in that situation, which actually that might be better. Hold on, let me think about this. Do we want to go for a Rusty there and then make it symbol skeleton, back out the Yugioh, and we could go into Galatea that way? Yep, actually that's what I'm going to do. Okay, sorry for that. I'm going to make a little bit of an amendment to that play. We're going to go and link the board code blocker and the Yugioh off into a Rusty, and we can declare Rusty's effect. We're going to dump to go set to our side of the field the Fog Blade, and we're going to activate the Cloak to go search out the Boots. Okay. We can then go and summon out the Boots. Did not mean to do that. And then here, we can use Symbol Skeleton's effect. We can banish it to summon back out the Yugioh. Can link these two off into a Galatea. You want to use Galatea's effect. In this situation, I'm just going to go ahead and shuffle back the Nightmare. To set and activate the Babel from our deck. I'm going to use the Boots to go search out our Shade. We can go ahead and link on up into a Yugioh here. I'm going to use this. We're going to overlay into you. Set the Shade, activate the Shade, summon it on out, link it on off into a Link Karibo. Then link these two off into the Galatea once more. So, yeah, this is going to be the exact same board we ended on before as it's been the past 3 times. So, sorry about that. But you can see that we didn't open any form of, we really didn't open a form of engine, but we were still able to end on our kind of standard board. So that's really nice. Fingers crossed I can get an Avermax line for you guys. It doesn't really, the thing is, it's not as rare as it's seeming, right? You actually end on Avermax lines a lot more than, you end on them a lot more than you think, right? Well, not when you think, but then what this tutorial is showing you guys. So what I'm going to do with this hand is we're obviously going to go to standby phase. In the main phase, I'm going to special summon out the Grepher by just discarding the Nessie outright. That is going to trigger the Nessie. Now, you can get punished here, right? If they Ash this effect to search, you do get kind of punished, but they're not going to do that like 9 times out of 10 because like they're going to ash this if they're going to ash something or something else. So yeah, you shouldn't have to worry about that, but it can happen. Add the jack, and we'll activate the Grepher's effect. Dump the jack to go send the Nightmare, as always. And that's going to trigger Jack's effect, which obviously, if this card is discarded, you can special summon 1 danger from your deck. And that's going to allow us to summon out the Nessie or the Snake. In this situation, I'm just going to summon out the Nessie, just because, you know, the Snake, I want to have like that extra name in the deck if possible. Going to go ahead and declare this, banish it. We can target just the Grepher, it doesn't really matter. We will send the Harpoor. Send another Girsu, wherever Girsu is, and Girsu's effect. Just going to send that symbol to the graveyard. And from here, we're going to basically do the same line as we would do in pretty much all the other ones. And we're going to end on the... actually, no, in this line, we can end on what we want to end on. Okay, that works. So here we're going to go ahead and link these two off into a Galatea. Ooh, can we end on what we want to end on? Yeah, we should be able to end on what we want. Yeah, we should be able to end on what we want. Then we're going to go ahead and link these off into a Rusty's effect. Oops, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so we're going to go, I'm just going to go ahead and banish that to add to hand because we're going to dump it and obviously use its effect. Going to set the Fogblade. We will summon out the boots here. Use a simple skeleton, banish this. Summon this on out. Link up into the Girsu here. Then we're going to link these two off into our second copy of Galatea. We can use the Galatea's effect to shuffle in that Nightmare back into the deck to go set the Babel. We'll use the boots. And we can just set the boots, activate the boots, move it on up. And then you can literally just, since we didn't normal summon this turn, you can just normal summon the Veiler. Link these two off into an IP. So, what is this? This is the Avermax board, so this is the Avermax board, basically. So what is this? What does this end on? Well, it's really good, honestly. So obviously we're going to go to end phase, we're going to pass our turn, then the draw phase. What I would personally recommend is kind of shotgunning your Galatea, to be honest with you. In the draw phase and the standby phase, I would use this to shuffle the Harpoor back into the deck to go ahead and set the Crescendo to your side of the field. Obviously, you're not going to be able to use this Crescendo during your opponent's turn, which is, it's okay. You're just going to have it for follow-up if you want to. They're going to go to standby phase. Well, obviously, you're going to have it for follow-up, basically. Not if you want to. You're just going to have it for follow-up. But you're going to go on into main phase. You can do this, like, I would recommend doing this as early on as possible, depending on what your deck is your opponent's playing. You also, like, if they're playing Despia, you don't necessarily, like, want to go. I mean, I guess you can because you have the Fogblade, so it's not that bad. But if they're playing against Despia, you might not want to go into an Avermax. You might want to just go into a Unicorn instead. But once you figure out what your opponent's playing, go ahead and trigger the Masqueradus effect to link these two off because, of course, this was summoned from the extra deck, so you can make Avermax with it. And you're just going to go on into your Avermax here. And that's obviously going to have destruction protection, targeting protection. Your opponent can only attack this. And it's almost impossible for this to get beat over in battle like we talked about before. And what else do you have, right? So we also have the Fogblade. So it's a monster negate. There's this Towers-like card. We have the Fogblade. We have the Crescendo, which is allowing us to use our effects on our opponent's turn, which is why we're able to use Galatea. You can banish the Simple Skeleton to summon out the Ding. And then you have Rusty's effect, since the Dark was summoned to its zone, which points to pop a card. And you also have Ding's effect to either send a card your opponent controls to the graveyard, or to reattach the Simple Skeleton from the banished pile to it for field protection and follow-up. So absolutely fantastic. Sometimes I actually prefer doing that because you're just going to end on field protection, and you're going to put the Simple Skeleton back into the graveyard eventually to summon out your Galatea back out, or to summon out your Yugioh back out, which can, keep your cycle going. So it's really great follow-up. And then, of course, in this situation, we also have the Maxi and the Ash Blossom, so we're good to go. But anyways, that is going to do it for me. If you guys enjoyed the video, please, let me know in the comment section down below what deck profiles you'd like to see next, any other combos you'd like to see for this deck in particular, any other variants you'd like to see. If I did anything wrong in the video and just blanked on it because I'm terrible at this game, let me know in the comment section below as well. But yeah, thank you guys again so much for tuning into the video. The support lately has been absolutely insane, and I really appreciate it. But yeah, like I said, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.